He was a superintendent for a long time, both of us, and worked with boards for a long time. What's your protocol when you're speaking? Do you want us to leave a mask on? It's up to you guys.
Yeah, I would say at this point, leave the mask on, yeah.
Unless we're all vaccinated.
No,
That's
That's
fine. Yeah.
That's fine. I just
We
made,
can still hear you though.
yeah.
no, that's good. But I retired as superintendent in Wayzata back 12 and a half years ago now. It doesn't seem possible. And joined School Exec Connect and, oh gosh, I don't know, I probably like 60 or 70 search over that period of time that I've been involved with, and still enjoy it a lot and look forward to working with all of you. And Dave, why don't you?
Yeah, I'm a Minnesota guy for all my life, except for a 6-year run at a superintendent job down in the Chicago area. Did most of my work in St. Peter, Minnesota, Edina. And then went to Chicago for a superintendent job and retired back here, have a lake house in Brainerd. And have worked in searches in the area. We were just chatting about Ricori and just finished Dassel Cokato. And Bob has just finished.
Just finished Sartell St. Stephen recently. And so we've done a lot of searches all over the state and done a few out of the state as well, but for the most part, in Minnesota, many in the metro and many up north. I live up north again where I grew up just outside of Walker on Leech Lake. And
We appreciate your confidence in the company and the two of us who were assigned to help you with this. We really appreciate that, and we know we can help you, and we've helped many others in the past, and we'll do our very best. And currently, this is the only search the two of us are doing. And sometimes it's okay to have another one going because it's all about a matchup. And you get applicants for here and applicants for there, and sometimes you can bring some in here. So, and like I said, we just finished a couple of searches, and there are a lot of people sitting there that didn't get the job that they had hoped to get. And sometimes they match up better somewhere else, so.
that's right. So we go on, it's late, we're late, it's late in the cycle, but don't worry about that. I'm confident we will find you a strong field of candidates. And, this is it's an attractive school district, an attractive community, an attractive area of the state, like we were talking about. And as they mentioned, we've done searches this year in this area, and there's been a lot of interest in those. And I know we had 27 applicants for Sartell St. Stephen. I think you had at least that many.
26 for Dassel Cokato.
And so they're out there. And really the number of applicants is in some ways somewhat of it's always interesting, but it's really not a really important number. The important number is how many are really qualified and a good fit to do the job. And as long as there's a handful that fit that criteria, you're in great shape. And we have every reason to believe that'll be the case. Our goal for this meeting is, first of all, to make sure you have a thorough understanding of the process that we're going to go through. You looked at our proposal, and so you have some examples or some mindset, regarding the process, but we didn't actually do a presentation where we go through that. So it might not hurt to take a few minutes just to go through that process in a little bit of detail for you and answer any questions you might have, and then we'll go from there. Obviously, this is the start tonight, and when we leave here tonight, we want you to have a total understanding of the process. We'll have all the dates set. We'll know who Dave and I are going to be talking to. We're certainly going to be talking to each of you as members of the board. And then we'll have to determine some perhaps other individuals we should be speaking with, and also groups that we want to be interviewing, focus groups. That's all designed for us to get a really good picture of this district today. What the goals that you see as a new superintendent comes in should be over the next 3 to 5 years. What are the things you're really proud of? What are your strengths here? What are some of the challenges that need to be addressed? And of course, what do you want to see in the next superintendent in terms of the qualities they bring, the experience they bring, the leadership, potential that they have, so, or that they've already demonstrated. And so we do that through these interviews. We also do that through a survey that's open to the entire community and the staff. So people who are not involved directly in a focus group interview, for example, they go online, answer the same questions, and we take all that information and we put it together into a document that we'll submit to you, typically 20-plus pages long, and all the feedback we get on all these basic questions about the district. And we also use that to put together a profile of what we believe this next superintendent needs to bring to be successful here, to be a good fit for you. We'll present that to you, we'll make sure you're comfortable with it, tweak it if you think it should be tweaked. And once you've approved that, then we use that as our guide to recruiting and vetting the best candidates possible for you. It's a really important part of the process for a number of reasons. One simply to have as many people involved as possible. The more people, our goal is that anyone who cares enough about the Paynesville area school district to want to be involved, to have input, they will. And that's always it's a plus in the search. It's a plus for how things start off with the next superintendent. So we'll assure that happens in every way that we can. But also it's critical, if Dave and I are going to do a good job of representing you, we need to have the pulse of this place. We really, and one of the things I enjoy the most about Bill doing this is that part. Every district, certainly there are similarities, but there also are plenty of differences. And differences, I'm sure Paynesville is not the same district today it was 10 or 15 years ago. And that's constantly evolving. And so the right leader 10 or 15 years ago might not be the right leader today because it's not the same place. So those are the things that excite us to get a handle on, and then look for the best fit for you. So that's what we'll be about over the next couple of weeks, is to develop all that and do the interviews, get the survey out there, get people encouraged to fill it out and so on.
Just to add to that, Bob, that the focus groups that we'll be looking at here in a few minutes will be including your staff and your support staff, your administrators, and your community members. And they will be invited to have a chit chat with us as we go through building the profile. And then they'll also be invited back to help interview the final candidates. Because our challenge will be to bring you 5 or 6, what we call semifinalists. And the board will interview those semifinalists, and then you whittle it down from there to usually 3. And then when we bring back the final candidates of the 3, those same focus groups will be invited back to do the interviews with the finalists, and they'll provide feedback that you'll get in written form. So you can see what other people are thinking about these people as well. So that's just
we'll go into kind of a quiet time for you, but not a quiet time for us at all. Once we get, the focus groups done and the survey completed and the profile adopted. Because that's where we're vetting and recruiting candidates. And, we'll certainly update you, answer any questions you might have. But it's like I said, kind of a quiet time for you. But once we get to that point of where we're ready to recommend the slate and the timeline that we set up here in a little while, as Dave mentioned, we'll bring in, we never know for sure how many, 5, 6, 7. I think I've been a part of searches where we recommended as few as 4 and as many as 8. And it just depends on how many really fit. And if they don't fit, we don't bring them. And if they do, we don't want to cut somebody out just to meet a number. So we'll see what that ends up to be. And then you will, when we present those candidates to you, probably sometime, mid-June, in that time frame somewhere, We will, and those of you that have been involved in searches before, probably remember this. It's still confidential. This is all covered by Minnesota data privacy laws, so that the names are confidential. So we present them to you by description, the type of position they hold, the type of positions they've held, what we've learned about them in their vetting and so on. But the names, we try to keep it so the names would not be obvious to you. In some cases, at the bottom possible, but most time it works. And but once you as a board approve the slate, then by law, everything becomes public. And that's a very important, we work in other states and it varies quite a bit in terms of the laws, but it's important because, especially if you're a sitting superintendent, you don't want to have your name out there unless you're at least going to be interviewed down the road, because you pay somewhat of a price back home, So it helps to, actually the law helps to enhance the field, because people wouldn't throw their name in the hat if it was going to be public from day one. They just would be more reluctant to do that. And then we'll work with you on questions and so on for that first round interviews. It's important that all candidates are asked the same set of questions. There's legal reasons for that, fairness reasons and so on. And so we'll give you a lot of questions to review and select from and work with you to finalize that. And then
That first round of interviews is a 1 hour interview, and you'll have a chance to ask 14 to 15 questions, is the usual.
about the time that.
Yeah, and you'll find out that's enough to find out if you want to dance some more with this person or if you don't.
Yep.
And you can, when 7 of you sit around and talk, we'll help you whittle it down. We have a process we use to help you whittle it from 5 or 6 down to some other number. So,
And by help you, Dave, means we'll facilitate your decision making. We're not going to give our opinion. We'll get asked once in a while, who would you bring back? No, that's not our role. That's your role. But it usually goes pretty well. We do a little process that we use that really seems to kind of simplify things. And typically boards will narrow that field down to 3 finalists, sometimes 2, usually 3. 3 is a little safer number for you. And the reason I say that is because at that point, and we work very hard with candidates on this too, we don't, if somebody is not going to be committed to Paynesville and committed to this job, then we just do not have them in the field at all. And if they, after the first interview, think, I don't know if it's a good fit for me, we want them to get out of there now. And we rarely have any issues with that. One of the things that we just in general work on totally through the process is to avoid any surprises for anybody. For you, for us, for the candidates, nobody likes a surprise, an unexpected development, unexpected something from somebody's background or whatever it might be. So we work very hard at that and really haven't experienced that for really a long, long time, if ever. And so that's true at that point too, but just once in a great while, somebody might drop out. And if you cut it to 2 and 1 drops out, you can see the issue. Even if that's the person you would have hired, you don't want the public and community to feel like somebody got the job on your phone. Those 3.
come think about it, just happened to me last month.
Is that right? Yeah.
We
it
had
can happen.
three in the final, and after interviewing the finalists, the one person said not a fit.
So, if they'd had 2, it would have been a
Down
tough
to,
situation.
I've had that happen. Where, in another state, we had brought 3 finalists. Night 1 withdrew. Night 2, second one withdrew. So we're down to 1. Well, that happened to be the favorite of the board anyhow, so the person is still in that district, but, so that's why we try and deal with that 3 if we can.
3 is probably the most comfortable.
Yeah, that's on the final from 5 to 6 to 3.
And then once you're at that point, then, and this will all be set up in the schedule that we'll do here, address here in a little bit, is to have candidates come in for an entire day. Spend a day in a district, usually somebody gives them a little tour, and then a sequence of interview groups. And those groups will be similar to the focus groups that Dave mentioned. Probably 4 or 5 different groups. And then we also like to have an open invitation community interview where anybody who wants to be involved can be involved. All of these groups involved like a 45 to 50-minute interview where the candidate will say a little bit about themselves, and we're there to facilitate all this, and then open it up to questions of the group. But at the end, they'll all fill out a feedback form that will go to you. The copy, you'll all get a set of those. So you'll see what each group, whether it's administrators or teachers or support staff or students or whoever it is, what they think about the candidate in terms of their fit, in terms of how they think they work with the various constituent groups you have, and have any concerns or questions they want to propose to you. And it's helpful. It's helpful information, you know. But in the end, it's your decision, your role and responsibility to make the decision. But the input is always very helpful. It'll be a little bit logistically more difficult because of the timeline we're on, because obviously that's going to fall in, you know, June, where, you know, but typically people they care enough about this place where staff members and community and even a group of students hopefully can, you know, take some time to be involved in those groups, even though school will not be in session.
And they usually find time to be there.
Yeah, that's right. Now, this year, well, last spring too, because of the pandemic, a lot of that has been done virtually. So we'll see, whatever you're comfortable with. Oftentimes, the community meeting will be virtual. You just let people know how they can sign in or whatever. Or at least, you know, maybe some in person and others could sign in virtually. Just when we did the Search and Sartell, we had a group in a large auditorium where we also had people, you know, texting or emailing questions in from the Zoom audience as well, and that worked great. It really did. So the same is true of the focus group interviews. Most of them we're doing now are virtual. Dave and I are comfortable with whatever you think will work best for you guys. Would work fine for us. Anyway, once you get down, say you have 3 finalists and each go through their day, then we have another little process we'll use with you to narrow it down to the person that you would like to enter into contract negotiations with to be your next superintendent schools. And we would see that happening because of, you know, the time we have here, you know, it'd be close, probably getting pretty close to July. So you notice on the tentative schedule perhaps that we put on there July 1 or ASAP. And that was simply, depending on the person, the position, situation, because of the timeline you're on, you might do a little give and take with the district they're coming from, particularly if they're the superintendent in that other district, to do a little kind of overlap. And there's ways to work with them. So just because.
And I would ask that you keep an open mind on candidates that we bring forward, that they necessarily don't have to be an existing, a sitting superintendent. I think a good half to 2/3 of the selection by the boards have been principals or assistant superintendents or something of that nature. So just kind of keep an open mind, or you can find a dynamite superintendent sitting in a principal spot somewhere. And sometimes that makes the leave of the district they're leaving a little easier if you're something other than a superintendent.
Yeah, there's definitely, typically, I don't know if you're typical on that or not, but typically boards, there's a little bit of a comfort level, obviously, to having done the job. You know, having been successful as a superintendent somewhere else. But like Dave said, golly, this was a few years ago now, but one of our colleagues, Ken Dragset, and I were talking about this issue, and we started going around the metro area. There's like 46 metro districts, and we knew who the superintendents were in all those districts, and we knew enough of where they came from. We also had a pretty good idea of how they were doing, were they really doing a great job, well, like and whatever else. And so we just started listing, and it was like 21 or 22 or 23 in both groups as to where they came from prior to that job and how they were doing. And there was no correlation. And one group had been a superintendent before and moved into maybe like a bigger district, a suburban district, whatever. And the other group had been like the second in command, if you will, or second, executive director, assistant superintendent, whatever. And it seemed to be flip a coin in terms of how successful they've been. So,
Well, just in Sartell, your selected person there was not a current superintendent.
assistant soup, yeah.
Dalso Coqueto was a director of HR. Byron was a high school principal from Monternita. So these, just an example of, doesn't always have to be a current superintendent.
So that's the process. And any questions about that?
Oh, a few.
Yeah, good.
So some of us just went through this 3 years ago.
Yeah, I noticed that. I wasn't
And, you
sure.
know, when you've been through it once, you look at it and say, well, that's the way you do it, and now you do it. So I just want to clarify a few things. You talked about the first interview being an hour. Is that just the school board doing the interview?
Just the school board.
Okay, so the other groups.
It's
don't.
open, I mean,
Right.
it's by law open,
Just the
but you're the only one asking questions.
And then the second interview, you try to bring all the candidates into one day and try to stagger it all out, so.
We have, but our preferred method is we have 3 different days with each finalist. So what, the person spends the entire day in the district, like I say, often starting with a bit of a tour, and then on to all the different groups, an open invitation group, and
Yeah.
then your interview in a dinner with the candidate, you sometimes catered, sometimes off somewhere else, it's up to you, and then your final interview at the end of
The
the.
last time we tried to do, we did them all one day. I think we had 5.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
4, was it 4?
Yeah.
We did them all in one day, and then that night, the community groups and all of the groups met together and talked
Oh.
before the school board made a decision. But that didn't sound that way here. It's like you get all the feedback from them, and then we meet a separate time. That would.
Well, here's our thought on that. I mean, I obviously, for everything we've heard, Matt's done a really good job, so you made a good hire. However, we get nervous for you in any process where a group or multiple groups of community staff will come to a group decision about who they want to have hired.
Well, that wasn't what it was.
Good.
It was.
Because that-
a calm discussion, and then they all had to sit back and let the
Right.
school board
Okay.
talk.
Well, that would probably be okay, but in this case, we just like to have every individual, and we stress it's an individual. We don't want the teachers, for example, getting together and deciding who they think you should hire. We want them all individually to give you feedback on
Okay.
each candidate. Because we don't want to ever have you in a position of having to make a decision that's in conflict with a decision that a group made that doesn't have the authority to make.
The only ones that vote are you folks.
Right, yeah.
So,
But, we found that works well, the feedback forms, but then having each candidate have their day really gives a clear look at each candidate. And we did, I know I was involved in a search where we had 3 candidates in with a rotational thing, and it was kind of when we're feeling our way in the early stages of this pandemic and trying to figure out how to work things, when it was a year ago approximately. But I think doing it with the individual days.
Well, I think, as I think back on it now, that day was a very hectic, powerful day that we just,
no.
exhausting day too, but.
Your time commitment on the final interview, when you have final 3, that doesn't really happen until about 5 o'clock for you folks.
Yeah.
Because they're involved with all the other groups up to that point. And then when we have the community meeting, then we ask you to come and just listen and observe. and see how they react to the community members. And then they fill out the feedback forms, and then those feedback forms come to you for reading, and then at 7:00, your interview starts. And that final interview is pretty freewheeling. You can ask well, we have some legal things you can't ask, but, and we'll remind you of that too. But, those questions, I didn't get to ask the first interview, but now I'm gonna ask, that's what you ask.
And it doesn't have to be the same list of questions for the candidate like the first time around. Now you know these candidates, you may be totally comfortable. The candidate A is school finance, for example, but you're not so sure about candidate B. You can ask them different questions based on that.
You have more questions, Rick?
No, you go ahead.
Okay, so what size you're looking at for the focus groups?
What
Will that
size?
work? The final focus group, two things you said. One is, as I listened to you talk, you are incorporating everybody in this whole community. And we as a board have worked a long time to try and get all that to take place. The last one didn't work that way. We had these focus groups that was there. I talked to people, just felt they were left out. When you're talking about a survey that everybody's gonna take,
Yeah.
Everybody.
that is really important because this is for the stakeholders to begin with.
Yeah.
So I like that, but you have to narrow it down to a focus group.
Yeah.
So those focus groups, the other thing you said that I thought was interesting is you included the support staff. That came up in a public meeting with that group one time. They just kind of felt left out on everything. That's a real important issue. Admin, last time I think got left out a little bit. They were tied with the teachers group, if I remember right.
No,
were
admin
you
was
separate?
There was admin, there was a staff, and then there was.
Okay, then we were
staff
okay
with a
there.
Mixture of
There were
teachers.
errors on the staff committee.
Yeah.
But I like the
But it was
idea.
pretty minimized, so
doing
it's
that
about
whole
6 of them.
The number.
Like,
I can't remember.
It was a pretty small group
10
to
to
try to
15.
collect.
10 to 15, Chip.
That's a pretty good size.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, pretty good.
And what you're doing is you're saying in the focus group, you're not wanting them to specifically decide who they prefer.
No.
Okay, that is very interesting.
No, we're gonna, with the focus groups on page 3 of your
Yep,
agenda tonight, those are the questions we go over with all the focus groups. And we will call each of you individually also and ask you the same questions.
yep. So when we're looking at timing and short time here, the focus group's the first thing you need some names on? Or how do we,
Well, yeah.
somebody gonna get us started? Cause we kind of need to leave here rolling.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
We're gonna come to that.
we will do that here in just a little bit on the schedule and, we just have to leave enough time. Somebody in the district, whether it's Miranda, or it has to kind of organize those groups or let people know that there's, and you can do it a number of ways, and once we decide which groups you want, they're not hard to put together. A group of administrators, well, you obviously know who they are, they're interested, they're gonna be there. The teachers, sometimes it's go to the union and say, we get different people from different levels and get a group of 10 or 15. But if we do the open interview, anybody who's not included can include themselves. So nobody gets left out. If they want to take the initiative, they're not going to get left out. So, anything else?
Well, the very first thing that's gonna happen would be on page 2 of your packet.
Yep,
It's called a letter to stakeholders.
yep,
And this basically tells people what's gonna happen. And informs them. We'll also, we'll have 4 things we'll be putting on your district webpage. It will be I hit it here somewhere, the letter to the stakeholders, the Survey Monkey where they can fill out the survey, and the search calendar will be there, and then the template for the position. Why would somebody want to come to Paynesville? So those 4 things would be right on your district website. So going back to the letter, this would be the letter that comes from the board. And kind of, again, this should be emailed to everybody. And it should explain what's going to be happening here in the next few weeks.
you'll notice that on the third paragraph, and this is your letter, so if you see reason to modify it in any way, shape, or form, why, you obviously can certainly do that. But if you look at the third paragraph, those are the things that we'll determine tonight, that fill in those blanks, you know, the timeline and so on. And a little bit about the process there. You see the Survey Monkey part. Our contact information, you know, that everybody will get. We're happy to field those calls. So we put May 5th down, it's Wednesday, for this getting out to people. You know, that's usually a couple days is ample. So if you're comfortable with it. Any questions about that?
I don't have a question about the letter, but more about the process, about, you know, when we gather that feedback, do we as a collective create some sort of matrix so that when the evaluation process happens, that we're trying to eliminate as much bias as we can? Like, how does that work when, you know, we do the interview process, we sit down and talk about it, that we're ensuring that we're following what we've determined as, you know, obviously the requirements, the preferred requirements and things like that? I'm just curious how we do that.
Well, what we, you know, the profile that we'll put together and submit to you, either in person or virtually, whichever you prefer, it's pretty specific in terms of skills and abilities and backgrounds that we think you should be looking for. And so when you're analyzing each of these candidates, it's a good tool to kind of judge them against. So we asked the community members, the staff members who are involved in those interviews, final interviews, to do the same thing. In fact, we even have the profile on the back of their feedback form so they can refer to it. And we think that works well. We avoid, frankly, any kind of quantitative matrix.
Okay.
And the reason for that is we've found sometimes people get so hung up on a number. And even though their gut tells them, this is the way to go, if the number is this way, they just get stuck on that number. And so we think it's better not to do that kind of analysis matrix.
So the profile will be about 7 to 8, 9 statements of this is really what you're looking for,
Okay.
okay?
So they'll have clarity to say, here's what we've chosen, and they're gonna measure,
Yes.
give
Yeah.
feedback based off of what's, not just like, I liked them because they could talk a great game. I mean, that's what, who are you about, it's like,
But the focus groups and the survey information,
Okay.
we'll meld that together.
perfect.
And from that, we'll distill it down to about 7 or 8 statements.
Okay.
That this is what the people have told us what they're looking for. And we'll bring that to you at a subsequent meeting here and we'll say, does this make sense?
Right.
And then that gets to be your measuring stick as you go through the interviews. And as we recruit candidates, we use it regularly. You know,
All right, thank you.
and candidates will call us and say, what are they looking for? We send them the profile.
And off that, you know, candidates, a good candidate they're not dissuaded by an issue that you have to address. They just want to know what the issues are. They want to know what on day one they're going to be, you know, focused on. And good candidates want issues to tackle. They just want to be surprised, and like I said earlier. So this is invaluable for us too, to be able to represent you to them and your district in terms of what, here's the deal when you get to Paynesville. Yeah.
Well,
Okay, well then let's, the next page is just questions we asked in those interviews with you and with the focus groups and so on. Same questions that are on the Survey Monkey survey. But now, let's decide who we're gonna be talking to.
yeah, let's look at page 4 of this particular, this is the data gathering. You know, we do it in 3 different ways: individual interviews, the focus groups, and then the open meeting. So our suggestion for the individual interviews, we usually call one of us will call Bruce and we'll call Maggie and we'll sit and talk and we'll go through. And another question we always ask is, do you have any candidates to recommend? Oh,
What do you think about that?
I heard that so-and-so, well, we take the name down, we call them. There's nothing else. They feel good. Somebody thought about them and, so that's the interviews we'll have with you. And then we think, we always like to call the president of your teachers union.
That worked for some, yeah, I'm hearing yes.
It seems to be, and who would that person be?
Mary
Yeah.
Leyendecker.
Yeah.
Mary Leyendecker.
And then we like to interview the current superintendent. Okay.
Yep.
And then, any others that, come to mind that we should, again, individually call or talk to about this? And again, we take that data, we'll take all of the data that you tell us and we'll compile that down into a summary.
So what's the differentiation between this group and the group of, it's teachers and the group of administration and all that? What's this group? Because we have the administration you could call.
Yeah.
How do you want to handle
They'll
that?
be, they're in the second section here, the focus groups.
Okay.
So that, everybody would be considered focus groups except for us and a few people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
I got you.
and the survey. Anybody can do the survey.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is this pretty, I mean, I'm assuming that's pretty typical that those would be the two primary people that you would kind of speak to.
Yeah.
Once in a while, a board will say, oh, I think you also should talk to, for whatever reason, this person, the unique, just somebody in that district who, but I wouldn't even know who to suggest for you because it's usually, it's usually the board members, the union president and the current show. Those are the typical.
Yeah.
So our admin staff is kind of like one thing I noticed when Matt came, my impression was he had a board of admin staff and himself that basically did everything here. Mary did hers, David did his, and I'm sure that here's how that worked. Matt did his. These two sitting right here are integral to that whole process.
Yeah.
They're not gonna fall into the same place as maybe a teacher's group would be. And it's not like he ran it like, so we've had previous times where the superintendent was here, there was this somewhat of a wall, then it got to administration, there was somewhat of a wall as it trickled. I don't think there was a wall between you guys and Matt.
No.
It was more of a group, and then there's a couple others.
Yeah, the leadership team.
Am I picking that up pretty close? It's a kind of it's a hybrid group compared to what I've seen before, and I liked it.
Well, and so do we, frankly, that's.
Can those people be included
Yeah, it's a-
in as admin staff in this group for the calls?
Yeah, and the focus groups,
Dave, better question to ask, instead of worrying about the whole admin staff for this call,
yeah,
would we be comfortable with both David and Mary taking an individual call as part of this initial process?
I'm game for that. I think they should. Just because of the way we were set up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
or the other option is for them to participate in the focus group.
I think they'll still, in my opinion, they'd still be part of the admin team focus group, but at least in this initial interview process, each of them receive an individual phone call as well.
So some of it obviously is trying to find out kind of where we're going, what we're looking for.
Right. Oh,
And-
absolutely.
In honesty, these two probably know more about, with conversations with Matt, and then we have Matt Dickhausen, I think Max is in your group. These people have a better idea, honestly, than we do.
Yeah.
We are sitting here looking at strategic plans and all that. These people are having meetings and they're kind of in
Yeah,
the mix of it, and we want to keep that going, which means that they would have a better idea than probably some of us.
so we'll
That's-
probably include them also in the focus group.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, they,
Oh, yes,
And any other district office administrators, business manager, that would be one group.
assistant principals, that might be absence of principals, or you don't have any, okay.
They are all. They're it. So just to clarify, that focus group, they'll get the same questions though, so will you be
Yeah, they will.
replicating your efforts?
Yeah.
Or is that, I mean, is that,
It's up to.
Well,
Okay.
I would say that a bigger advantage is, again, they can speak more to a personality maybe than what they can put on a survey.
Right.
As well as potential references or potential other, opportunities that, again, I don't know.
What we do with the feedback too is we never present feedback so that it can be traced to an individual.
Correct.
If we interview Matt, Dave, Mary, and a group of administrators, they'll all be under the same administrative feedback. And we may put a 3 or a 4 or 2 after a statement because it came from all those sources, same thing, which is always interesting too, to see. But nobody, and same is true with the union president. The feedback from the union president will be lumped into the teacher group. So, it's, so we never want to put people in a position to say, John said this or Joe said that.
Yeah, so one of the groups would be administrators.
yep,
The second group would be certified staff or teachers. Okay, and the third group would be support staff, non-certified staff, it says here, or whatever category or title you have on it here. And then the fourth focus group would be high school students. We find that of interest. And then the fifth group would be kind of an evening session for the community at large.
And
That
if
makes
you-
sense?
That's very typical, and, some districts, and we're fine with that, if you would, sometimes a district will put together kind of a group of community and or parent leaders as a focus group, and others will just say, tap in at 5 o'clock at this open meeting and be part of that. And that's all we do.
Just so I was clarifying, so it'd be an open community meeting, there may or may not be a community focus group.
Well,
That would do the
usually,
interviewing.
you usually get some people that, will.
Okay, so we would still have a focus group from community.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's important. Again, just to have, everybody have the opportunity to be part of a group if they choose to do so. And so now in this COVID era, it often is virtual and you just get the invitation out where people can, go to the website, get the invitation, join in, and we'll be sitting on our computers facilitating the group.
And I'm fine with the virtual part, except when it comes down to us actually interviewing a candidate,
Oh, yes.
I need to be in the room with that person.
No,
We agree,
we just did that. That's fine.
All the searches we've done, we did searches last fall and last spring that were virtual right all the way to the end. And they made good hires, so like it didn't work.
I just like to see.
But I agree with you.
I hear you.
And in Dassel, Cocato, and Del St. Stephen, and a couple other searches, finished recently. The interviews have all been in person.
some of the benefits of doing a mix or virtual or hybrid is I think it does help eliminate some bias, because I think a lot of bias does come in instinctively when you're in person. And it does
Can.
kind of have a better playing field, because some people, you get that, they were gonna fit in, they spoke just like us or whatever, or they act, you know what I mean? And that's also a danger, right? So I think there's pros and cons to both.
I think we found during our strategic planning virtual meetings that were open, that the people that joined were really passionate about the feedback they gave, and maybe they were a little less intimidated
Right.
in that virtual mode.
So it's not the worst. I have a question about some of the, so like the staff and stuff, is that what the admin team is picking? Or who selects those candidates? I would just want to advocate for like who's gonna be on those focus groups. I would want to see for sure, like somebody like a Jen Wers or someone who really has their eye on our DEIJ work. Just because not everybody has that lens. And
Experience.
somebody to really, we can see in our strategic planning, that's the direction we're going, but I don't know that our community is there yet, so that's an area that could potentially be left out. And so I would advocate that somebody who really is looking through that lens of diversity, equity, inclusion would be on one of these focus groups.
And that's become pretty critical in every search we do now, in almost every district, and
They're trained
And we have no, we don't care how you put the groups together.
Usually
We're looking to talk
if
to whoever you think we should talk to.
Yeah, the administrative group is pretty self-identified.
Yeah,
The teacher group, we usually go to the teacher, union leadership and suggest we'd like to have, both buildings represented. We need a total of 6 from each,
Perfect.
kind of thing. And then if there's in the non-certified staff, the support staff, if there's a leader in a group or a bargaining person, we say the same thing.
Yeah, I know, you probably have, what, 2 or 3 different bargaining groups that are support staff maybe? Secretarial, professional, custodial,
Bus
bus
drivers.
drivers.
No.
But just going to,
We have 4.
you can do again, whatever you want, but what a lot of districts do is simply go to the leadership of that group and say, hey, we need 3 people to join the others in a focus group, or something like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice not to have just the leader of a group, because the leader isn't necessarily
The voice.
keyed in on everything that's going on. So you need enough people to kind of,
Yeah,
Every area.
Mix and,
right,
And that's why we say, whatever you think fits best in your dynamic culture, whatever,
yeah.
to get people at the table who you think would be the best to have.
Yeah.
Knowing that all the others can participate through the open meeting and through the survey.
And as we come down to community members, is it, just us kind of reaching out to community members on that front, or, and kind of same thing?
Nothing wrong with giving a special invitation to
Yeah,
different community members, leaders.
kind of that 12 to 15 range, or would it less?
We've had those meetings with 200 people.
I'm talking more on the individual focus
But
group?
you don't have to worry about numbers on that one. When it comes to the open meeting,
No, the
Yeah.
focus group,
focus group,
and that 12,
15-ish.
15,
Yeah.
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 Means right now, everybody that was on that list probably could be on it.
Yeah, assuming they all want it.
Yeah. I think it was a pretty good broad sector
It seemed very,
on the list, yeah.
Are you okay with us doing those virtually? Or would you like to have us come back here and?
However whatever works,
Either?
either.
It's totally up to you. It's possible that because a lot of people getting back saying no, so not as nervous as they were before, but we might get better participation virtually. Just because of any level of concern that might be there.
Well, when they say you're vaccinated and they wait your 14 days and you can still carry it, other than protecting yourself, it didn't accomplish anything, because according to them, it still can spread, so it's a mix-up. So virtual works perfect, whatever it takes.
is everybody okay with virtual, is that? I'm fine.
How much are we talking virtual?
Well, we're talking that
The meeting with the community?
we would call each of you, do a telephone,
Yeah, that's.
and there are others individuals here, and then the other groups, Miranda would kind of get organized a time slot and get whoever sets up the Zoom meeting, and then we would tap in and do it in that manner.
could we set it up so that people who aren't comfortable with virtual could be in person?
I bet we could arrange something where they can meet together
Here in the
here
boardroom
or
or
and be
something.
part of that meeting.
Because there's always a possibility that some just aren't comfortable with virtual.
Correct. Yep, we can,
And that's fine. That's fine. We've had.
I don't want to disrupt somebody.
We've had meetings where several in
We'll
a
arrange something for
room
them.
together and others are wherever they are, that works fine.
And as you meet with each of these groups, I'm assuming you don't want us involved.
You're right.
Sometimes there's the school board, we've talked about this back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to have lots of conversations there. We just have felt recently, or quite a while actually, that we tried to stay away from them. Or if we went, we never said a word.
Yeah. No, I think that's wise, and we do, you're gonna get all the feedback. We're gonna capture, if not word for word, certainly the flavor of every comment that's made. You're gonna get all that feedback. along with feedback from the survey. And it's possible that your presence could impact what people say or don't say.
The only thing I think we did before is, I can't remember when it was recently, where it was actually stated at the meeting, the school board will not be here, and this is the reason why, just in case some people were like, well, why isn't anybody from the school board
Right,
here?
I like that.
Yeah,
Like we weren't interested or something.
Yeah,
And when we conduct the meetings, and particularly emphasize it at a community meeting, we're here on behalf of your board. And the board is, we might make sure people don't think you're staying away just because, but why aren't they here?
Right.
We explain why you're
That's-
right there and make sure you're covered on that, if you will.
but when you do virtual meetings with a series of people, there's still a phone number they can call in, right? So if somebody doesn't have computer access, they can
Right.
listen to everything at once.
Yeah.
It accomplishes the same thing, so I just go ahead and do what you need to and.
And our emails will be on the letter also. We gotta remember to add those to the letter. And we do hear from folks.
Oh, yeah,
It's okay.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
Everybody got that list you had, Thomas?
Yes,
So the one thing we have to do is pick that group out to see where it's at. Is everybody comfortable enough just to have Miranda, whoever's gonna call, see if they're interested?
I added one more,
yeah.
I had a couple ideas also, but I'm not sure they're,
our
They're
city
interested.
administrator, I thought we should, I would like to see at the table too, if possible, I mean.
Okay, so just to review, we've got 7 board members, right?
Mhm.
7 board members, not you. Thought so. Teacher Union President, current superintendent, David Mary. And then we've got administrative group, certified.
should we include Matt Dickhausen on that?
I would, just to kind of minimize the number of phone calls, I think Matt and Max are perfectly capable of just joining the focus group, but I think David Mary's voice can speak for them as much as anything.
I think so too. I think I get through on the focus group just as well.
Okay. Good.
What was I want to
Well,
make
you're
sure.
good.
As is.
Stay with your thought.
What we got here, okay. The administrative group, certified staff, support staff, high school student group, and an open invitation meeting. Okay,
I just wanna make sure on that student group, I don't know who would pick those students. But I would hope that it would be a broad spectrum.
Broad.
Usually tip to the
Very
principal
broad.
and say, we need a dozen kids.
but yeah, getting a good cross-section, not everybody being on student council.
Well, I say,
Exactly.
work with student
I wouldn't
council
want
to
student council to find it.
spread it out.
The principal's been doing a great
Student
job.
council's one type of person.
Yeah, you have the student council work to spread that out.
And those groups are great. I always look forward to them.
Yeah.
And same is true when you come to interview time. And part of, it doesn't have to be the same group, but one of the things you might wanna, have a little bit of part of the, who is that on the group is who would be available on those dates in June when the final interview is held to actually interview the candidates and give their feedback.
Most people think that's kind of cool to be involved in that part of the process, so.
Okay, well, now let's take a look at the calendar itself and then look at some dates. So if you go to page, my glasses fog up, so I gotta know what the math is, right? Page 5, I can read it now. Okay, this is tentative, so we'll now want to finalize these dates. The letter goes out on Wednesday. We'll have the internet survey set up no later than next Friday. We may get it set up and ready to go on your website prior to that. This is jumping ahead a little bit. Who would be the person we should connect with, like your tech person or whatever, who would know how to just link that to the website?
Miranda takes.
Miranda?
Miranda will take care of all that. She's our social media expert.
Oh, wonderful.
Great, okay.
I have a quick question about the survey. So that will just live on our website, or will that actually be pushed out through our networks, like in emails, or will that just live?
Can we?
Well, you know,
we have that link?
we talked to Miranda, but the last, might have been Sartell. they actually, included the link to the survey in
In
the letter.
In the
And
letter.
actually link directly to it, not have to take the step of going to your website. So,
Yeah.
talk to them right
Because both principals send out weekly newsletters too. I mean, we do have a lot of external communication.
Sure.
So I just,
Any,
The letter can be linked in yours and
Okay.
the survey can be linked in the letter, then it should all
Yep, it should all funnel back.
funnel back. As well as, yeah.
So my question is, when are you, I see you've already got the job posted on your website. When are you gonna have the description posted on there? Thursday or on your website for the superintendent?
Yep.
Position. When will you have a more,
Next day or two.
okay, perfect.
I started on it today and I sent it to Matt and I said, Matt, take a look, and so we're trying to go back and forth, and he's been out yesterday and today.
we, because the timeline is short, we wanted to get it up on our website quickly. We also have it, it's up on MSBA, MISA. Not, they don't even have the deadline because we don't have it set yet, but it's at least alerting people to know that.
And we'll also include St. Cloud State on that.
That Ed Post or,
Pardon me?
is that Ed Post, is that thing? Okay.
What about something in our local newspaper? There should be an article or story about what we're doing, how we're getting started, and would there be a link there, or not a link, but some way people could be in touch?
I think the Paynesville Press just needs somebody to let them know. Can Miranda just kind of keep the press in touch with what's going on?
I think that stakeholder
They'll publish something,
letter will summarize pretty much,
that'd be great. And then we could get that.
yeah.
Did you want me to send the stakeholder letter?
He's leaving and where he's going, so.
Yep.
Did you want me to send the stakeholder letter to the press?
We can. The volume.
Miranda, are you trying to speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
Sounds off.
The remote is,
Yeah.
you can grab the remote right next to Bruce too.
No, a little, I think the computer
on.
speaker.
On the bottom.
Oh, there, I see.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about? Miranda,
Yep, you can hear me.
we can, sorry about that.
That's okay. Did you want me to send the stakeholder letter to the press?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
Now, as far as the timing to connect with each of you and talk with each of you, the other, and the focus groups as well, we just put a range in there from May 13th to May 17th. Typically, it works kind of nice to have one day for the focus groups and just kind of space them throughout the day. And, Miranda would be working, to get those set up. And I think the 13th is a Thursday. Any of these days would work fine for Dave or myself. We just like to have them concentrated, like, on a certain day. Like the focus groups on one day and they are individual phone calls on a separate day.
Yeah, Miranda, we're gonna need the cell phone numbers or the contact number for each of these people.
Yep, I can do that.
And Miranda, I'll send you that list that I've sent to the board regarding the community members, so you'll have that tonight.
Okay, thank you.
It's just kind of like on my phone, it's Ari, or who's that lady I talked to?
Oh, Siri.
Yeah.
Siri.
Is there Miranda, that's probably a good question for you. As far as the focus groups are concerned, is would the 13th work? Is that too quick to get it set up with administrators, teacher group, support staff group, student group, open meeting at 5 o'clock?
Yeah, you're just wanting me to send out the invite, or what is you wanting me to put the people together for that?
Yes. That's kind of quick. That's
Yep,
kind
I
of
can-
quick, and we could certainly go to the following week and do like Monday, the 17th. That would be fine too.
Are these people are the board members putting these people together? Is that what you're saying?
The board members will pick a different day and we can, those are just gonna be individual phone calls, so those are easier to deal with. The groups are a little tougher.
Okay.
He's just wondering who's gonna put those groups together.
Yeah, that'll be, a teacher union president for the teachers. The administrator group is pretty self-selected by their position.
Mhm.
And then you have, the support staff, parapros and secretary, that kind of, I don't know if you have a person in charge of that or a,
2 or 3 from each of the unions, the custodial.
I've never seen that they in those negotiations that they have president or leader of the
Pick
group.
those groups.
Yeah.
I would, I guess,
What, you guys?
suggest
those
that you guys could work with those leaders, between you guys and Miranda, to get the groups narrowed down.
Yeah, we can do that.
Miranda, we can help you with the leaders for those groups.
Okay. So you guys are saying you want that done by the 13th, is what you're saying? Or that's when you want the date to be?
maybe a little early.
Want to go Monday, the 17th?
That'd be the interview day.
Yeah.
So we had to have a list
Okay.
solidified and those people available to interview on the 17th.
Yeah, a certain, whatever time, 11 to 12 o'clock for the, administrative group or whatever. The teachers
Okay.
group often would be like maybe at 4 o'clock or whatever, the end of the day that works well, after students are gone. And we can make whatever schedule work. And usually the open community focus group is typically 5 o'clock. If you think that's the best time, we could go with a different time later if you think it works better for your district. But if there's nothing on the school calendar that would get in the way on that Monday, why, it gives you a little time and it works fine for us.
Yeah, that would work.
Okay, let's look at that.
Focus group day is Monday.
Mhm.
Does everybody feel confident and clear about, Miranda, how you're getting the information and contacts? You guys, everybody's good? I just wanna make sure. Okay.
And Miranda, we'll be in contact with you too, and don't ever hesitate to contact either Dave or myself as well with any questions or anything that would come up.
Okay.
Yeah, please do.
And then board members, as far as you can set up a time with Miranda, so she can just let us know when to call you. We can go later next week perhaps, or.
Are your schedules pretty open? Is the preference that we would just give our availability to Miranda and she would coordinate with you and schedule
Yeah.
a Zoom call or something like that or whatever?
They're open, it would be kind of nice to kind of
In one day?
have them in one day or, whatever, but we'll work around it.
Okay. What day are you thinking those? Did you say the 13th or the 14th?
Well, we could do
Might need both days.
we could do actually, the 12th isn't too good for me, but the 13th or 14th, either one would be, well, the 13th would be great for me.
Does that work for everybody?
No, I'm gonna be out of town 12th, 13th, and 14th up in the North Shore, and I don't know if I'm gonna get Wi-Fi up there.
Okay, well, that'd be fine.
Get you on the 11th.
Go on the 13th.
I can do it Wednesday this week. That's my normal day I got. I don't know if you need to wait a week.
Call Rick.
The 13th is negotiations.
What'd you say, the 12th, 13th, 14th, what was it?
The 13th.
Oh, what were the dates you threw out, the 12th, 13th, 14th?
13th is negotiations, that all
Okay,
day.
12th, I've got admin council for my church, that's not gonna work.
What time is that?
At 4
Miranda.
o'clock is the negotiations on the 13th.
With one of the groups?
Yep, a custodial and food service. But maybe earlier, does the 13th work? Would you be okay with just talking with Rick?
Sure, we'll
prior
call
to
Rick this week.
then
Absolutely.
do that?
Call you this week, Rick.
Anytime Wednesday.
Give me your phone number, we'll call you.
I will.
The 12th is 13th, during the day, it might get a little hairy, cause I got a funeral planning, so, yeah.
How about everybody else?
What
Does the
time of the
13th
day?
work for you? I think anytime.
Anytime of day?
Are we on the 13th?
think that's what,
Well, I just threw out the 13th, but.
We'll try to,
I can,
I'm good with that. Do you want us to call Miranda and tell her about what time?
Yeah, call Miranda and.
What time do you guys start?
Put something on the
time frame.
Fine, if not, we'll.
9 to 4?
we're,
how much time should we each set?
we're retired, we're only working for you.
Half hour, 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, max, that's. That'd be the 13th, right?
13th, and then anybody that can't do it, then we'll work it out.
Yeah, Rick will call you this week.
Okay.
And, okay, and then, we put down May 25th, because you have a board meeting that night. So we thought, we could do it sooner than that, but that would require you to have an extra meeting, and, we think, the 25th would be soon enough for us to, present you the profile, that whole report of the feedback, both on a survey and on the, focus groups and individual interviews, and then your acceptance of the approval of the profile. So your board meeting on 25th, that work?
Yep.
Okay.
Any idea of a time for us so we can,
Board meetings on the 25th at 6 o'clock, right? Then, so you guys want to plan right at 6, well, essentially, be the first item on the agenda for,
6 P.M.?
oh, yeah.
We'll be here.
6, and once you guys are done, then,
Adios, yeah.
yep, we're good.
Okay. And now, we'll be recruiting candidates. Actually, we're looking about it now. We don't get real serious about it till we know exactly what we're looking at after the focus groups and so on, but we certainly are already talking and thinking about possibilities. And then we're gonna have that point in mid-June where we're gonna present 5, 6, even 7, who knows, candidates to you. That meeting will take about an hour and a half maybe. We present the candidates without the names like I mentioned. And then we also want to make sure that the length of that meeting is often dictated by how ready to go the questions for the first round of interviews already are. We'll get you a lot of questions we'll be looking at. We'll get them to Miranda ahead of time. So sometimes you can have that all set ahead of time or just.
Ideally, what we would like to do, Tom, you and one other board member, let's say, we'd send you a list of the top 40 questions or 45 that have been used. And you can select from that list and then then that makes that board meeting go much more quickly, other than everybody sit here looking at 150 questions. And it's not that critical what questions are on that list. We might think it is, but you can select any 14 you want, and you're gonna find out, yeah, I wanna know more about this person, or no, I don't. So,
And there'll be questions that kind of cover the whole gamut of the role of the superintendent. So you can pick 1 or 2 from each of those categories.
Yep, that'd be fine. Yep. Yeah, just any of those oddball communication things, just get to myself as part of the board decision, board process, and I'll share it with the board, and we'll make sure we're all on the same page. If it's global communication between Miranda and myself, either one more than likely, we'll get it all sent out.
Maggie, that works so well, and I work directly with Kathy and Dassel Cocato. It really expedited, it really made your time much more efficient with the whole board.
Yep, I'll be here.
And I don't think we excluded anybody. Anyway.
Before we pick a date for us to bring that recommended slate to you and finalize the questions, all that kind of thing, what would be your preference for how you want to approach those first round interviews? Typically, what boards do is do more of a 2-day period, 1 hour interviews now, so like a 5, 6:50, and 7:30 each day. Or another option is to do them all in one day and do like 3 in the morning, have lunch, do 3 in the afternoon, and do it all at one time. What's your feeling on that? We're fine either way.
No, some of this board's quite a bit younger. Schedules are pretty tough during the day, I would guess, huh? Thomas and Richmond. So maybe
We could do a Saturday too. It's totally.
the 5 to 7:30, would that be better, you guys?
if we did, yeah, kind of that afternoon, I mean, I could even, even if we wanted to start at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, kind of a mid-afternoon time would even work fine for me to get started. Taking the whole day for that gets a little tight in my new job schedule.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So what time do we start? 2 o'clock?
I'd say we do a 2
Okay,
o'clock
so you got
start, or something like
2
that,
o'clock.
and then we can run that 2 through.
Well, if we do
For a
2
couple different
o'clock, we
days.
could do 2, 3:15 and 4:30 and repeat that for 2 days.
Yep. Sure. Yeah, I would say that, at least for my schedule, I can arrange a little easier.
Okay.
I can usually work around everybody else's schedule.
We need to find out which 2 days of that week of June 13.
Yeah,
Monday does not work for me.
I'm in the Boundary Waters.
Is that annual conference?
That's all
So you come
virtual,
back
I'm not
fresh.
going.
I probably won't either.
I think it's
so-
later, I think it's.
Okay.
June 14th.
So
I'll pretend to go.
Monday,
Monday will not work for me at all.
Thursday won't work for me,
Oh, the week of the 14th?
yeah.
As of now, my personal calendar is wide open, so it's just a matter of just scheduling myself off on whatever day we choose.
How about Tuesday and Wednesday?
I can do Tuesday, Wednesday.
Need not be consecutive. It could,
Tuesday,
Have a preference?
okay, let me ask you this question.
Tuesday, Wednesday works. Does that work for everybody?
Works for me.
Will a late afternoon meeting on Monday, the 14th work? Late afternoon or evening? 7
Yes.
o'clock, whatever,
That
11.
would
Monday the
work.
14th?
Not for me, that would work better for me.
Not for Cheryl. Oh, you said anytime.
Jeez.
That one night a week,
Okay, one night, all right.
or one night a month, I mean, I have,
Yep, all right.
So we're back on the 15th and
Well,
16th.
I'm looking for that meeting to present the candidates, you know, we can do that the day before, it's no problem, but we do need
we
to do it.
pre-schedule a candidate. So in other words, if we met on a Monday and we can interview Tuesday, we line up tentative interviews pending board approval.
Okay.
Cheryl, let me ask you this. If we did that meeting on Monday night, I mean, there's no decisions to be made. Rarely, in fact, I've only had it happen once in my whole 13 years of doing this. Does the board ever, for some reason, not want to interview a candidate? You know, it's like, why wouldn't you want to, get the whole slate?
I don't think we should present that question to her because it puts her on the spot. She said she was busy on that Monday. We should do it another day.
Well,
Just because we don't want her to miss anything.
Yeah.
And I'm only speaking.
That's fine. No,
For the board members, you don't want to miss a thing on this if you can avoid it.
So if this Monday, the Monday night meeting, you're talking about doing an evening meeting, just present the candidates to do the interviews Tuesday, Wednesday. So can we do that? We roll that back and do a Tuesday evening meeting with Wednesday, Thursday interviews?
Well, yeah, but I thought we couldn't do Thursday.
I'm not here
Oh,
Thursday.
that's right.
Yep.
We could do Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah, Wednesday, Friday works great for me.
Yeah, work.
it works for me.
Tuesday evening present, and then
Tuesday
Wednesday,
we
Friday
present the
interviews.
candidates, and then Wednesday, Friday would be the first round interviews.
Yep.
Okay,
You catch that, Miranda?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
16, 18?
Yeah, what time on the 15th and
Yeah, I should put this in.
on the 15th, you tell us. Doesn't
just do
matter.
a 6 PM?
6 PM, okay.
As soon as you approve the slate, then we give you the bio on each of them.
Okay.
And you get more information you can digest there, but you'll get a lot once you approve the slate.
Yeah, you're gonna get, their bios when we present them, but then once you approve them, and we'll have Miranda copy this all for you, but you're gonna get their application that they submit to us, which is like 8 or 10 pages, a lot of information. You're going to get their resume, their letter of application. You're going to get their certification, know that they're certified to be a superintendent in Minnesota. You're going to get their graduate transcripts from their work to become certified as a superintendent. And you're gonna get a minimum of 3 and usually 4 or 5 plus letters of reference from people they've worked with and so on. So it's usually, some of them are 30, 40 pages long.
Yeah, I guess too long.
And so there's a lot of information for you to look over prior to that first interview.
That's kind of nice then too, because then we can only worry about reviewing the first three
Good point.
the night that we get our stuff and the day before. the
I think it'll
interview.
work
And we have
perfect.
a whole nother day to review the next three.
So review again, the Tuesday, the 15th, 6 PM,
Yep,
present the slate.
Yep.
yep.
Starting at 2 o'clock, interviews on 16, which is a Wednesday, and 18, which is a Friday.
Yep.
And then it works best both from a timeline standpoint and from lots of other standpoints to come back as quickly as possible with the final round interviews. So if possible, we would suggest Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, one candidate each day.
The 22nd, we have a regular school board meeting.
Yes, you do.
Would people be opposed to meeting before that, or?
You have a regular meeting on the 22nd?
Yes.
Yep. So how much time for each one would you allow?
For you, for your time element would be 5 o'clock, attending the community interview. Just observing there.
Just plan on 5 through the rest of the evening.
5 to 8.
5 to 8.
5 to 8, 5 to 8:30.
5 to bedtime.
So these are the community, what am I calling this, the community?
Community interview. And you're just to observe there.
So
Well, we certainly could go with the 21st, 23rd, and 24th. So we don't
Yeah,
back your board meeting.
Your families will say, how much school board business are you going to
I've already warned them and my employer.
So we did say the 21st, correct, and then
July.
22nd?
Well, the 22nd is your regular board
You got your
meeting.
regular board meeting, so once you.
21st, 23rd, and 24th. I agree. Is that what you're
I think
thinking?
it has to go 21st.
21, 23, 24.
All 5 to 7?
5 days.
5 to
5 to
8?
8?
Roughly 5 to 8.
Roughly 5 to 8. And the last night will go a little later, because that's where you actually will be looking to make a decision. So you can figure on Thursday, you might go till 9:30. And, and it's a little daunting for those of you that haven't been a part of this process before, but it's very common for boards to be nervous about things. We actually come to closure right after that last interview or soon after. And boy, I tell you, it's almost always occurs without a tremendous amount of difficulty,
Just finished.
You never know.
The first ballot, I had in Dassel-Volcano, 6-0. Done deal.
And that makes it easy then.
3 minutes,
We
we're
do
done.
kind of a straw poll of where you're at, and we always like 7-member boards when it comes to that, for obvious reasons, but,
Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we sit in on all of these.
Yeah, that's the second interview for the individual candidates.
Okay.
Yep, from 5 to 8.
All right, Miranda, is that clear as mud?
Yeah.
Okay, let me recap it for you. Tuesday the 22nd is a regular board meeting.
Yep.
No search work that day. The final interviews will be on Monday, June 21.
Mhm.
And the board will be involved from between 5 and 8.
Mhm.
And that will also be true on the 23rd and 24th of June.
Mhm.
and then we'll connect with you, Miranda, on a potential schedule for the rest of the day.
Okay.
Yeah, that's down the road. We're not gonna go there yet.
No. So, okay. Well, I think,
That's Miranda, whenever the board's together, we have that 3-day posting.
Yep.
So, you can just go ahead and make sure you take care of that for all those nights.
Yep.
Now, Miranda, you have to speak up too. If you have family commitments and vacation time planned, we gotta hear about it.
Yeah, I have to look at my calendar. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I wasn't sure if I need to be in all those meetings. I'm assuming that I am, but I'm not, just want to be sure.
She wouldn't necessarily need to be in for those interviews unless she's part of her focus group interview. That'd be the
Okay.
interview, she would have to be part of.
No, we just need somebody who has arrangements, places.
Correct.
Whatever else, and then usually like some of the little details like coffee, water for the candidate, coffee, stuff like that.
Make a neat cup of coffee out of a Keurig.
And copying the feedback.
Is it strong?
I need some help copying the feedback for us.
Oh, yeah.
Do we want the feedback forms that somebody does it online, so you're not having to take paper forms, or is it all paper?
We've always done paper,
It'd be a little hard to,
Yeah, and then usually we have like Miranda, whoever does it, put together a 3-ring binder for each of you with all the forms in it, so you can just flip through easily.
we'll do some color coding too, so you can,
Yeah.
so you know who you're talking about.
Okay.
So will you guys be receiving the surveys and then you send them to me?
We typically collect those feedback forms after each interview. We're talking about the final interviews now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
3 days. We usually will, either Dave or I will collect them after each group is done and then bring them to you or whoever's gonna copy them for the board.
Those are the 3 final interviews?
Yeah, the only dicey one gets to be the community meeting at 5:00, that interview there. A lot of staff is off duty at that hour, and we just need copies so that you can have them.
And then, so after dinner, basically, you get the feedback forms from the community group. And then, that's no problem on the first 2 days, but on the 3rd day, often boards will take a little time before that last interview to look over it, what am I talking about? Each day, you might want to take a little time to look them over. You'll get questions that the community asks on the feedback forms that you want to ask candidates, and so sometimes, just have a little break and.
On that note, Miranda, and I don't know if anybody else is opposed to this, but on those interview days, if, depending on how it all shakes out, even like if Jen Welly would be available or anybody else, so we have kind of a dual team working on it available. You don't have to be there every day, and you can kind of arrange that. But between now and then, we can kind of arrange appropriate staff members to kind of assist in that process.
Yeah, the only odd time is 5 to 8.
Yeah.
Usually somebody's around up until that time.
Yep, just so I know which ones I have to attend.
Another question, so these are gonna be virtual or in person? My question is, do we have a space where, let's say there's 15 people in a focus group, that we can all be socially distanced and following, like, is that gonna be difficult? Space-wise, we'll have the space, okay.
We spaced out pretty well here not too long ago. I mean, we had a room like this and
Okay,
10 people.
just in case like there's a big group that comes for the community that we're unprepared.
Yeah, that'll.
The seminar room.
Yeah, kind of.
Perfect, I just wanna make sure.
Auditorium if need be.
Okay.
They're good at this.
Okay, I think we got a calendar, and that's the toughest part of this. As far as the advertising of the position's concerned, what happens automatically, obviously, is it's posted on our website, it's already there, there'll be stuff added to it when we get the template done. It's already up on MSBA and MASA's website. Again, some stuff will be added once we have this information. Some districts want to go beyond that and advertise nationally. It costs some money to do that, but you can post it with Educational Week, which is a very popular educational weekly magazine, either in print or online. You can also post it with AASA, American Association of School Administrators. Both of those run in a rate of $500. If it's something you'd like to consider, we can take care of that for you.
What would you
Audience
do?
would be such that I don't think it's worth I wouldn't recommend it for you.
Yeah, part of the reason they have you here is you gotta recommend that there's nobody here out advertising for this stuff, and so we don't really know.
Yeah, I
I would
just,
just mention that we just got a city administrator from overseas. So sometimes international does work.
well, and we'll get applications. I mean, they're checking our website, they're checking, anybody
If you're getting
we'll get
that.
applications from other states and,
Okay,
you know, and very possibly would have candidates that we would recommend. Although we always like to see some reason why they want to come to Minnesota. And as opposed to, I've never been there, maybe kind of nice, you know, you know. Is there a connection that makes sense?
If they're searching your website and local Minnesota websites for jobs, it's likely because they want to come.
They want to come. to
Yeah.
Minnesota.
Instead of just
Exactly.
seeing it on a random website thinking, hey, that seems neat.
So this will go with regional postings like that. The board liaison for communications.
That's Tom.
Yep.
Okay. And staff, we know
Stephen
Miranda.
Miranda.
And Miranda. And then the final thing is compensation guidelines. And we don't have to have that specific tonight, but it is important that we get that. One of the things we'd like maybe is mass contract. If you get, Miranda, if you get a copy of mass contract, and if there's, that kind of gives us a sense of what the provisions in the contract are. And if there's something that's going to be very different, you know, we would know that. So we can represent that to candidates. And and a salary range of, from here to there. Like we talked earlier, you know, not wanting to have any surprises, the same is true with compensation. You know, we want candidates to know if you go to Paynesville, this is what the range in which you're going to be compensated. And if you're okay with that, then by all means, if not, then you shouldn't even apply. So you want to make it a realistic range for you. I think you want to go as high as you can, just to attract the best field you can. It's never, and I'm sure you probably know this, but you never want to bring in a superintendent too low, even if you can get them, because you might just lose them real quick, because you can't bump them up once they're here. You can't.
We had that experience already.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we spent a lot of time when we put mats together. So they didn't ask us up front what the compensation package was. We spent a lot of time to make sure it was equitable because their management doesn't allow them to get big bumps.
That's right. That's right.
And it's not just us. It was every school around that I got, and we put together an Excel sheet on it to find out where they're at, how it had changed, what it looked like for the last 5 years, all of that, to make sure that we were there. So when you get mass contract, I think you're gonna find it's probably pretty fair contract for a community our size already.
So one question I would have is, the night we make a final pick, obviously that's not the end of it because we have to offer contract and they may, you know.
Correct.
Do you help us with that contract part?
We can, we do if need be. We kind of,
I can't remember how it happened last time.
we kind of can mediate if need be, but when a candidate knows going in, this is the range and you're comfortable with the board, this is the range, it usually works out pretty quickly, you know, and I've only experienced in all the searches I've been a part of, I've only experienced twice the board deciding to hire somebody and then not get a contract done. And one was because the candidate didn't follow through on what they said they'd take, in part because their local school board upped the ante for them because they want to keep them. And in the other one, frankly, the board didn't follow through. They ended up lowballing the candidate, they went below the range they'd set, and he said, no, I'm not coming. So if you got that set up, you should.
Do you have a list of comparable districts or is that
You apparently worked that out.
Yeah,
somewhere, huh?
yeah, I have an Excel sheet that we put together. Our committee put it together last time. And we just wanted to make sure it was very fair and we were probably, no, we didn't take somebody like St. Cloud.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Comparable.
comparable districts and we were out towards Cambridge and is a big one that we use.
Okay. So
Okay, well, we'll get
Bruce will be our
that,
contact on that.
We'll talk
I can
about.
get you that information, or we can do whatever.
Now, one last question I would have.
Yeah.
At what point along this timeline would this come to a screeching halt? Would it be on the May 25th when we all look at the profiles and say, well, I don't know, if we want to go ahead, or at what point would it potentially come to a point where we'd have to say, no, we're gonna wait, we need an interim, and we're gonna
Yeah.
refocus next?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Well, we don't anticipate that, that'll gonna be necessary, but, I'm sure, I can't believe there'd be any issue on the 25th, because just a matter of, this is what the profile gonna look like. The issue, if there would be such an issue like that, it actually would be at, on,
16 and 18.
The 15th.
Yeah, right, when we present the slate. And if you think, oh, this doesn't work for us, or, you know,
Even more fair, after the interviews on the 16 and 18,
right.
then you've talked to 5 to 6 people. You have some feel for, you know, in addressing Rick's question.
So, you know, it's a very valid concern, valid question. I'd be shocked if that's where we ended up. I really would.
I'm glad you have positive.
Yeah,
I think we've been concerned about
If you've
that.
got an attractive within a good competitive range salary, and even, in part because coming off the 2 searches we've just done, and people who are really interested in this area, and a couple of real quality slates of candidates, there's gonna be a couple there, I would think, who potentially would be interested and potentially be a really good fit, so.
I guess my concern would be, are we, and that's why I'll be positive, we're gonna find somebody,
Yeah,
but
no,
I think at this time, well, some people have got to say, well, if I didn't get a job, I'm gonna settle back to where I'm at, I'm not gonna try it again.
You're right, you know, and a good superintendent cares about the district where they are, and it's hard to leave the district, you know, at this point in
Right,
time. So you're right, there are some things there that could enter in that make it more difficult, there's no question, but we're gonna work really hard to make sure you got a good slate in spite of those potential difficulties.
We thought you'd come tonight with the perfect candidate that met everything we needed.
No, and if it comes down to where we just, you know, it's not a good fit for you, then we're gonna do what we need to do to, we've found interims for districts many times, given the need in a certain situation.
No,
So if we have to go there, we'll go there, but I don't,
Yeah.
hopefully we won't.
If you have any internal candidates, we always recommend they just get in the pool and let them shake out where it happens.
Sorry, was that obvious?
Well, it's, you know, some people think, well, let's interview the internal first and see if we like them. No, say, just throw them in and see what happens. It seems to work best. Other questions? It's a lot of stuff, folks.
Well organized.
Did someone email the dates and times?
We will,
So our notes are correct?
yeah, we'll
some kind of minutes.
update all this, the document we're using tonight, we'll update that with all the dates and everything, send it to Miranda in the morning.
And then Miranda,
Perfect.
are you able to put all the calendar appointments for all of us on those dates then when you receive that?
Yep, I can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary David, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have,
Questions or?
I think it's fine, I think it sounds amazing. Let's get started.
Let's get started. Middle of June can't come soon, not fun. Well, I guess you gotta get through the rest of school year, so.
We've all got our contact numbers there, and
Yep.
don't hesitate to use them, and thank you for tonight, and thank you for putting your trust in our company to do this search for you, so, I really look forward to it.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, Dave.
Thank you.
But we adjourn.
Yep.
thank you, Miranda.
Thanks, Miranda.
Thanks,